Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm ULUGBEK and I'm here to walk you through Cambridge IELTS 17, Test 2, and Passage 1. Let's get started. So, like I always do, I just first read the title and try to understand what the passage is going to be about. So, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't know the word scroll to be honest, like Dead Sea, but I'm guessing it has something to do with sea, right? Dead Sea. So I didn't really provide me with any like I don't know in-depth context just yet, but let's just see. I'm gonna quickly go to the questions and zip through them just to highlight some things so that I can when I go to the passage I can clearly locate them. One word only. All right, so it's always important to read the instructions because this may cost you a whole band, right? Or maybe only a half point, but still, it's going to come in handy just reading it. Now let's get started with the questions. The Dead Sea Scrolls. The title of the notes completion question is the same as the original title of the passage. And before that, let's just go through what question types we may have. Oh my God, there are, I don't know, like seven. Yeah, I guess. Or is it eight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 true false not given questions. It's going to be like a little difficult, I guess. Maybe given that this is passage 1, it's not going to be that much difficult. Anyways, let's get going. Discovery, right? So which means that we also need to be reading these I don't know, like subcategories or like subtitles. They kind of also give us an idea of what we're actually like looking for. And discovery, so all these pieces of information will refer back to a discovery of some kind, and it is Qumran, 1946 7. I don't know what that means, but let's keep going. Or 7, maybe they're saying like 46 or 7. 3 Bedouin shepherds. Shepherds are those who take care of some like livestock, right? Sheep usually. In their teens were near an opening on side of cliff. Okay, were near an opening on side of cliff, right? Okay, so in their teens they were, near an opening on side of cliff. Heard a noise of breaking when one teenager threw. Okay, heard a noise of breaking when one teenager threw something. Threw a. Pay attention. Like this is clearly a noun which is singular. Maybe threw a stone. Let's just predict. Right? It is like noun and singular. Teenagers went on. Teenagers went into the, right, like if they went into somewhere, that means like they went into a place. This is clearly a place. Went and found a number of containers. Number of containers. Oh, sorry. Let me just okay, yes, this is like teenagers went into place and found a number of containers made of what? Material, right? Made of something. It's a noun, it's material, so I'm not like bothering to write that noun because we already know that, at this point we've realized that most of the words that we need in these gaps are noun. Now date from between 150 BC and 770 CE. Okay, thought to have been written by a group of people known as, right? Group of people known as, that means we need a title, we need a name, right? We need a name. Okay, written mainly in the something language, written mainly in the, it's probably an adjective, and it's like type, like name of language. Adjective. Mostly are on religious topics written using ink or on parchments or papyrus. I'm not going to be reading that or highlighting it. Now let's go to the next question set. True false not given. The Bedouin teenagers who found the scrolls were disappointed by Bedouin teenagers were disappointed by how little money they received for them. How little money they received for them. Like, this is really negative, right? They were unhappy that they received very little money. There's agreement among academics about the origin of the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Like, I'm guessing, like, there's another strategy to dealing with true false not given questions, and that is prediction skills. Like, we need to try to predict, like, what should the passage say for us to say that it's true, right? Like, there's agreement among academics about the origin of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, if the passage claims that, or like, states, right, because it's a descriptive passage or a factual passage. Anyways, if the passage states that, like, yes, many academics, right, like, tried like discussing something, right, and then like they made a compromise and they agreed on something, then like agreed on where that sea scrolls come from, like their origin, then it's going to be true. If like all of them are not going to be agreeing, right? If the academics are just, arguing with one another, like, while one academic says this and the other will be saying that, like, if that's the case, then it's going to be false. If we don't know if there is agreement or not, then we're going to go for not given. So this is just to give you an idea of how you should be dealing with true false not given questions, just for starters. Like, if your exam is not around the corner just yet, just please make sure you take your time with true false not given questions. But all of the things that I just told you are like going in my head, right, are already there. Most of the books of the Bible, all right, written on the scrolls are incomplete, right? Like, books of the Bible written about, right, like on the scrolls are incomplete. Okay, the information on the copper scroll is written in an unusual way, right? Again, like, if it's usual, then it's going to be false. If this is true, it's going to be true, right? Mar Samuel was given some of the scrolls as a gift. Okay, given as a gift. In the early 1950s, a number of educational establishments in the US were keen to buy scrolls from Mar Samuel. Like, were they interested in buying it, or weren't they? Like, if they were, then true. If they were not, like, we need to be able to identify the emphasis, right, of the question, of the statement. The scroll that was pieced together in 2017 contains information. Okay, this is strong. Like, we kind of helps us find the relevant part. Contains information about annual occasions in the Qumran area 2,000 years ago. Okay, so it kind of contains information about annual occasions. Academics at the University of Haifa are currently, okay, University of Haifa. Like, you see, guys, I'm highlighting only the words that like kind of like jump out at you, that will probably help you find the location of the answer. So this is pretty like useful. Currently researching how to researching how to decipher the final scroll. Like, if you decipher like an inscription, that means you try to like get the meaning, right? You try to grasp that particular writing. Now we quickly go back, right, to the passage and just try matching the keywords, right? Like, what was the first one? Shepherds, Bedouin shepherds, right? Okay, cliff. Bedouin teenagers, goats, ship, right, near the ancient state. Okay. Alright, yeah, I found the location, I guess, to the first one, and I'm just going to mark it as 1. As you can see, Bedouin shepherds, teenagers, right, were tending their goats and sheep near the ancient settlement of Qumran, located on the northwest shore of the Dead Sea, in what is known as the West Bank. One of these young shepherds tossed a rock into an opening on the side of a cliff and was surprised to hear a shattering sound. A shattering sound is noise of breaking. So it's going to be like, threw. What did he throw? What did he throw? Sorry, he toss is the same thing as, and as you can see, like I already mentioned, it probably is a stone, but like it was in 1946, like rock, right? Pretty close, right? Threw a rock, and he heard a noise of breaking, and he was surprised to hear a shattering sound. Okay, we found it. Teenagers went into something and found a number of containers made of something. Okay. Cave. Stumbled across a collection of large clay jars, 7 of which contained scrolls with writing on them. Okay, yeah, this is the second one. Um, so yeah, it's pretty easy, guys. As long as you do all these. Teenagers went into where? They went into. Later, enter is the same thing as went into. Cave, and found a number of containers. Stumbled across is the same thing as found, right? A collection of is a number of large clay jars, right? Clay jars are like already containers, right? So jar is a container and clay is a material. So those containers were made of clay, right? This is very subtle. Some people may miss this, by the way. 7 of which contain scrolls with writing on them. So there is nothing else that can be a material, right? Except for clay, which is why I like chose it. Jar is the same thing as containers. Like this is actually like quite normal, right? But let's keep going. The scrolls. We need to like find the scrolls, and yeah, already found 150 BC and this, right? And a group of people known as, all right, between, still subject of scholarly debate even today. Oh, I think I found like some answer to one of them. Okay, we're gonna get back to this. Like in passage one, I'm going to try out the new approach, right? I'm not gonna be like finishing one passage and then go to the questions. Like, this is actually a lot easier. Like, I mean, not as time consuming. According to prevailing theory, their work of population didn't inhabit the area until Roman troops destroyed the settlement around. Okay. There's known as people thought to have belonged to a group called the. So here they're saying like, I guess that's the location. Like the origins, which were written around 2,000 years ago, between 150 BC and 70 C, is still the subject of scholarly debate even today. According to the prevailing theory, they are the work of a population that inhabited the area until Roman troops destroyed the settlement around 70 C. The area was known as Judea, right? The area was known as Judea at the time, and the people are thought to have belonged to a group called the SNS, right? So that's it, right? Group called means group of people known as, right, SNS. Okay, let's keep going. Now, mainly, right, I think is like majority is the same thing. Written mainly in the language. The majority of the texts on the Dead Sea Scrolls are in Hebrew. Hebrew. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, with some fragments written in an ancient version of the alphabet thought to have fallen out of use in the 5th century BC. Okay, so mainly, majority of the texts were in Hebrew. Hebrew. In the Hebrew language. Yeah. As you can see, these are some proper nouns. That really happens. That actually is quite common in passage 1. And as you can see, like Cambridge 7 is sort of like a reflection of what you're gonna get on your IELTS exam actually this year. So that's why you can expect like this kind of questions in your actual exam if you're taking it quite soon. Now let's move on to true or not given. The Bedouin teenagers who found the scrolls were disappointed by how little money they received. Let's see if we still can find Bedouin teenagers. I think we read about them only there, right? Bedouins and archaeologists eventually unearthed tens of thousands of additional scroll fragments. Oh yeah. The teenagers took the 7 scrolls to a nearby town where they were sold for a small sum to a local antiques dealer. Okay, we found it. This is 6. Word of the find spread on, and Bedouins and archaeologists eventually unearthed tens of thousands of additional scroll fragments from 10 nearby caves. Together they make up between 800 900 manuscripts. It soon became clear that this was one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever made. So yeah, we found the part. Now let's try turn this into a question. Is it true that the Bedouin teenagers who found the scrolls were disappointed by how little money they received for them? Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know. Yes, they did receive money for all these, right? And they did receive a small sum, right? But the passage doesn't doesn't imply anywhere that they were either disappointed or not disappointed. Like they were actually quite content with it. So we can't know, right? Like because there's not enough information to conclude whether it's yes or not, like whether it's true or not. And that means us that it's not given. Like, were they disappointed? No. And if you can't like justify your answer, then it's probably going to be not given, because all of the things are given. You see, this is how IELTS tries to, well, not so much trick you as just throw you off by just, you know, like adding some keywords into the, you know, some synonyms for the keywords that we found from the question set, you know, on the passage. So they do that intentionally, and that's why they are so popular, right? I mean, IELTS is so popular. So that's what they do. And as you can see, like an average student would probably fall into this trap, and I'm hoping that I didn't. Like, I'm hoping this is not given. Just like I already explained, right? But when you can say no, it's not correct, and then explain yourself, then that means it's false. So that's the difference between false and not given. There's agreement among academics about the origin of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I think we like read this, right? We happen to read this somewhere. Like, still the subject of scholarly debate, right? It's still a subject of scholarly debate. That's that, right? Is it true that there is agreement among academics about the origins of the Dead Sea Scrolls? No. Why? Because it is still the subject of scholarly debate. It means that there is no agreement, right? So you see, this is the difference between false and not given. Now I could actually justify my answer, like explain why this is false. It is false because no, there is not an agreement. There is no agreement between the scholars, between the academics. In fact, there's still debate, which is the opposite, right? So it's false. But in this case, you couldn't quite come clean with your answer. Most of the books of the Bible written on the scrolls are incomplete. Let's just find Bible first. Okay. Oh yeah, Bible. In addition, several texts features translations of the Hebrew into Greek. No, this is not relevant. The Dead Sea Scrolls include fragments from every book of the Old Testament of the Bible except for the book of Esther. The only entire book of the Hebrew Bible preserved among the manuscripts from Qumran is Isaiah. This copy, okay, so most of the books of the Bible written on the scrolls are incomplete. This copy, dated in the 1st century, is considered the earliest biblical manuscript is still in existence. Along with biblical texts, the scrolls included documents about sectarian regulations and religious writings that do not appear in the Old Testament. Okay, let me see. Yeah, this seems to be a tough question. Let me just try reading that again. The Dead Sea Scrolls include fragments from every book of the the Dead Sea Scrolls include fragments from every book of the Old Testament of the Bible except for the book of Esther, right? So most of the books of the Bible written on scrolls are incomplete, right? Include fragments, right? The only entire book of the Hebrew Bible preserved among manuscripts from oh yeah, they're saying that fragments, right? But the only entire book preserved among the manuscripts from is oh yeah, I got it now. Like, most of the books only include some fragments, right? They only include some fragments. However, there's only one book, right, which was preserved, and it's called Isaiah. So, which means that most of the books written on the scrolls are incomplete, right? Or, like, is it true that most of the books of the Bible written on the scrolls are incomplete? Yes. Why? Because the Dead Sea Scrolls include fragments from every book of the Old Testament of the Bible except for the book of Esther, right? Like, Isaiah is the only book that like contains you know, that is like the entire book, right? Like others only were like included fragments, I hope. Okay, I hope so, but yeah, this was tough because it's a little confusing. It is true, as I already explained that. The information on the copper scroll is written in an unusual way. Where's copper scroll? I think, yeah, we can read this part. The only exception is the scroll numbered 3Q15, which was created out of a combination of copper and tin, right? Known as the copper scroll, this curious document features letters chiseled onto metal, perhaps as some have theorized to better withstand the passage of time. Right? The only exception is probably like unusual. One of the most intriguing manuscripts from Qumran. This is a sort of ancient treasure map that lists dozens of gold and silver caches. Using an unconventional vocabulary and odd spelling, it describes 64 underground hiding places that supposedly contain riches buried for safekeeping. None of these hoards have been recovered, possibly because Romans pillaged Judea during the first century CE. According to various hypotheses, the treasure belonged to local people or was rescued from the Second Temple before its destruction or never existed to begin with. Let's see. Writing on the is mostly in black or occasionally red ink, and the scrolls themselves are nearly all made of either parchment or an early form of paper called papyrus. I think we happen to read something. Okay, yeah, it's not relevant. Is it true that the information on the copper scroll is written in an unusual way? Yes, it is, right? The only exception is this, right? Because like it was chiseled onto, like, it means that it was carved. Well, you actually carve something onto wood, but here it like chisel like onto metal, like write it with a metal onto a metal. Is written in an unusual way. Yes, because like all of them are written like red ink, like everything, but copper scroll is written in a different way. Mar Samuel was given some of the scrolls as a gift. Let's see. Okay, paying less than $100 for them. It means that, you know, no, he wasn't given scrolls as a gift. Like he actually purchased them. False, right? Like, is it true that Mar Samuel was given some of the scrolls as a gift? Let's see. Some of the Dead Sea Scrolls have been on interesting journeys. In 1984, a Syrian Orthodox Archbishop, known as Archbishop, I don't know, known as Mar Samuel, acquired 4 of the original 7 scrolls from a Jerusalem shoemaker and part-time antiquity dealer, paying less than $100 for them. He then traveled to the United States and unsuccessfully offered them to a number of universities, including Yale. Finally, in 1954, he placed on advertisement in the business newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, under the category of miscellaneous items for sale, miscellaneous, I think, that read biblical manuscript dating back at least 200 BC are for sale. This would be an ideal gift to an educational or religious institution by an individual or a group. Like, yeah, they're kind of confusing us. No, he was not given them as a gift, but he is stating, right, he's implying that these can be really nice gifts, right? In the early 1950s, a number of educational establishments in the US were keen to buy scrolls from Samuel. Let's see. No, right? We don't know, right? Why? Because he did like place an advertisement, right, in a number of universities, in the business newspaper. Israel College statesman Yigal Yada negotiated their purchase and brought the scrolls back to Jerusalem, where they remain to this day. Like, no, like we don't know if a number of educational establishments in the U.S. were keen to buy scrolls from Samuel, right? Like, yeah, we don't know. Like, yes, he did put an advertisement, but it doesn't mean that people from the U.S. were interested. Maybe they were interested, maybe no, but it's not given. A scroll that was pieced together in 2017 contains information about annual occasions in the Qumran area 2,000 years ago. In 2017, researchers from the University of Haifa restored and deciphered one of the last untranslated scrolls. Let's see. The university's Eshbal Ratson and Jonan Ben Dov spent 1 year reassembling the 60 fragments that make up the scroll. Yeah, I now get what scroll is. Like, you kind of bend it and scroll it, like, and then like read it. That make up the scroll. Decipher from a band of coded text on parchment. Define provides insight into the community of people who wrote it and the 36 4-day calendar they would have used. The scroll names celebrations. Celebrations that indicate shifts in seasons and details 2 yearly religious events known from another dead. Details 2 yearly religious. Only one more known scroll remains untranslated. Okay, the scroll that was pieced together in 2017 contains information about the annual occasions of the area 2,000 years ago. Let me see. The university's one-year reassembling to make up the scroll deciphered from a band of coded text on the find provides insight into the community of people who wrote it and the 364-day calendar they would have used. The scroll names celebrations that indicate shifts in seasons and details two yearly religious events known from another. Details in seasons and details two yearly. And details is like a verb. Two yearly religious events known from another death. About annual occasions in the Qumran area 2,000 years ago. Yeah, I think yes, it's true. It does give it does contain information about annual occasions. Academics at University of Haifa are currently researching how to decipher the final scroll. No, only one more known scroll remains untranslated, but we don't know if they're actually historian and deciphered one of the last untranslated, but we don't know the last one remains untranslated, right? But we don't know if they're currently researching how to decipher the final scroll. Yeah, that's it. That's why it's not given. Let's just check now. It's test 2 passage 1, right? I hope we won't mess it up. I'm not looking at the others. Oh my god, I made a lot of mistakes. Okay, so true false not given questions are my weakest points. Rock, cave, clay, SNS, Hebrew, not given, false, right? True, true, 10, false, and oh yeah, I only made one mistake, thank God. 11 was supposed to be false. Oh yeah, if you just try to read between the lines, you realize that no one wanted to buy it, right? A number of educational establishments in the US were keen to buy scrolls. Let's see. Let me try explaining that now. Just a second. Okay. But where was the 11, right? Okay, here is the part, right? Alright, the original, he then traveled to the United States and unsuccessfully, oh my god, why, didn't I see that coming? That was so obvious, right? He tried making a sale, but unsuccessfully, right? But to no avail, right? And a number of universities is the same as educational establishments. That, you see, that's what happens when you rush, right? You were I was kind of how to say, worrying about other ones, right? Yeah, in the early 1950s, pay attention, 1950s. I thought about this, right? Not this one. Anyways, that happens. One mistake, no big deal. The best what's important is that you find your mistake and you realize how silly it is, and then you learn a lesson, right? Never rush the process. So I hope you guys learned something new. Thanks everyone for watching this video, and please leave your likes and comments in the comments below. Yeah, that's obvious. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel and support my content. Great content coming up quite soon. So thanks everyone one more time, and bye.